At the end of Power of the Doctor, we got a lovely scene with old past companions of the Doctor from across eras just sat in a room talking about their stories of the Doctor. A support group of ex-companions, if you will. We of course had recent ones like Graham and Dan, and Yaz, but we also had classic ones there, like Jo Grant, like Melanie Bush, like Ian Chesterton, one of the first TARDIS team members, way back from the 60s. His first appearance in over 50 years on the TV show. He's done some Big Finish stuff. But if you look closely, there was what some people initially mistook for an empty chair, but was actually a chair with a laptop on. Presumably some kind of video call going on. But who was on the other end of that call? That is what I'm going to discuss today in this video. The possibilities. Who could have been on that call? Could have been one person, could have been many. Let's look at the options. Hi, I'm Phil, welcome to my channel where I talk about all the geeky pop culture I like, things like Star Trek, things like Red Dwarf, things like Doctor Who. And as I said, today we're talking about that scene with the past companions and who might have been on that call for the laptop. Who was on that Zoom call, Skype call, whatever service you use for video calling. Who was there? Who were they talking to? Who was joining that remotely and from where? Well, here are the options. The parameters of this are basically that they must have been left on Earth in a time period that they would still be around in 2022. And that must have happened in the TV show. There's lots of expanded lore in Big Finish, in books and stuff, where companions that might have been left somewhere else got back to Earth. Companions that were on Earth went travelling somewhere else and therefore wouldn't have been on Earth anymore, or have died, or many other things. But we are just taking it as the end of the TV show here, with the one exception being Sarah Jane, who I am going to say is still canonically dead, unfortunately. So I'm going to take that as given. But other than that, anyone else that was left on Earth alive in kind of roughly the present day of the time, or a time that could then lead on to 2022 and they still be alive, counts. This is the list. We've already got Ian, who was one of the first companions on the TARDIS, but a bit further on in the First Doctor's era, we've got another companion who was left on present-day Earth, Dodo. Now, as I said, I'm not counting expanded media where in some instances she dies, in some instances she doesn't, but just assuming that she was left in the 60s as she was in the War Machines, then she would potentially still be around at this point and could be one of the people that is on that Zoom call. Next up as a potential, and I'm linking these two together because they left together, they joined together, they left together, and they are generally thought of as a couple. Ben and Polly, companions of initially the First Doctor for I think maybe one or two stories, and then predominantly the Second Doctor. They were left behind in 1966 at the end of The Faceless Ones at an airport of all places. So they would potentially again still be around, so it could be Ben and Polly on that call. Now, Victoria Waterford is an interesting one which you might initially dismiss because she was left in the future as the story was written. The story that came out in the 60s, which was Fury from the Deep, was set in the future, but it was a future that was still in the 20th century. So at some point, she would have been left in the late 20th century. I can't remember the exact date of the episodes where it's set, but it might have been the 90s or something like that. And then she can go on to grow older from there and be there in 2022. Admittedly, the future that she was left in potentially is another timeline, I guess, because it's very different to the one. The world setup is very different to what we are in, but let's just, for simplicity's sake, say that this could count, and she could still be around in 2022, having been left in the late 20th century. Next, you've got, of course, all of the unit crew. There are so many people in the unit. The Brigadier, we know from the TV show, is sadly deceased, so he would not be there. But there are other people that could be. We could have Benton, for instance. We could have Captain Yates. We could have Liz Shaw, who departed the TARDIS after... well, not even the TARDIS, departed the unit after 1 year of working alongside the Third Doctor. She could be around somewhere and possibly on that call. Harry Sullivan, who has a complicated backstory in the expanded universe of what he went on to do, including, I think, some time travelling. I haven't got to all of that yet, but he goes missing for a while in some Sarah Jane adventure, but not Sarah Jane Adventures, but Sarah Jane audios. Anyway, he's been coming back into it recently as a character, but none of that matters. As far as the TV show concerned, he's still on Earth, so if you're discounting all of the expanded universe, he's still around somewhere. He could have aged gracefully and been there still as an older gentleman in 2022. Now, interestingly, none of the rest of the companions past Sarah Jane got left on Earth, apart from the ones we've already seen. So we've seen Tegan, she's in the episode mainly, we've seen Ace. Every other companion got left somewhere else. Also interestingly, including Mel, who was at the meeting, like in physical form. She was there, but she got left in space, in the future, on Iceworld, with Solomon Glitz. How she got back to Earth, who knows? Might be in a Big Finish story somewhere, or it might be in a future Big Finish story somewhere. But at the moment, as far as the TV show is concerned, she got left in space. So how she got back to Earth, who knows? Other people may have done that as well, but we're not counting them for this list. But the entire run of the original classic series, there is nobody else apart from the two main companions which returned for this episode, Ace and Tegan, who got left on Earth. All of the rest of them got left on alien planets or Gallifrey or something else. So doesn't leave us much. But when we get to the TV movie, we of course have Grace Holloway and Chung Lee, who both didn't travel in the TARDIS. They had an adventure with the Doctor in San Francisco, and they both stayed in San Francisco. So they could be on the other end of that call. Then we get to the modern era companions, and we've got people like Martha, who has worked for UNIT. She probably knows Kate in some way, and might be on the other end of that call. Maybe she's too busy off with her husband, Mickey Smith, although maybe they've got divorced by now, who knows, it's been a while. And she could be on the end of that call. Mickey could be on the end of that call. I'd rather him be off screen on the end of that call than Noel Clarke come back, so good. Yeah, let's just say Mickey was on that call. Then we of course have one-off companion for a special, Lady Christina D'Souza, the cat burglar. Maybe she was on that call. Probably less likely, because she is a cat burglar, she's a criminal, she's probably on the run, and might not want to draw attention to herself by being on a Zoom call like that. But potentially she has been a friend of the Doctor, and she has been there on Earth. Then of course, finally, we've got Ryan Sinclair, who, as we were told by Graham in the episode, is off, I think it was it Peru he went to? Possibly Peru. He's off there, he's off somewhere else doing something. Didn't explain what, but he's somewhere else in the world. So he could absolutely be dialing in from wherever he is in the world. And given that Graham is there, I think it's highly likely that he would have sent the link to Ryan to join in, especially as Graham organised the whole thing. Now, one more wild card I want to throw in there is all of the Bannerman Road kids from the Sarah Jane Adventures. They could have all potentially they've all met the Doctor in one form or another. Some of them have met the David Tennant one, some of them have met the Matt Smith one. They could absolutely have been involved in this and joined the Zoom call as well. So that's my wildcard suggestion. Did I miss anybody out? Are there any possibilities for people that could have been on that video call on that laptop? Let me know in the comments below. And I'll be back for more Doctor Who videos soon, so please do like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.